All right, so let's duplicate this. The title for this test is, it should set the return date if input is valid. So here we send this valid request. Now to do our expectation, we need to get this rental document or rental object from the database and then inspect its return date property. So using our rental class, we call find by ID and pass the ID of this rental object that we have in this test suite. Now we await it and store it in an object like rental in DB. Note that we are not using this rental object here because this has been in the memory, but when we execute this request, somewhere else we're modifying the database. So that object in memory is not aware of changes in the database. So that's why we need to reload the rental. So now that we have this new rental object, let's expect rental in DB dot date returned to be defined. Now this is a general way to write this test because we can set this property to a number or a boolean instead of a valid date. But later we're going to come back and modify this assertion. For now, let's just write enough code to make this test pass. So save, back in the terminal. We have a failing test, so we are on track. Now here in our route handler, we can write simple code like this. Rental dot date returned. We can set this to a number like 1 and then save the changes. Rental dot save. Obviously, our test will pass. Let's see. So save, back in the terminal, see all tests are passing. That's why I said this assertion is a little bit too general. We want to be more specific. But here's the tricky part. In our production code, here, we should set this to the current time. But in our test, when we make an assertion against this property, we don't have the value of the current time. Well, we do, but that current time is already different. So when testing scenarios like that, you should calculate the difference between the current time and the value of this property and ensure the difference is less than, let's say, 10 seconds in the worst case scenario. So let's modify this assertion. We get the current time minus rental in DB dot date returned. Now this gives us the difference in milliseconds. We want to expect that this difference to be less than, let's say, 10 seconds. So I'm talking about the worst case scenario where our test is really slow. Now, when we save the changes, our test failed because we expected the difference to be 10 seconds, but this is what we get. Because what we stored in date returned was not a valid date time. We used 1, and when 1 is converted to a date time, we get some weird value, and this is the difference. So let's go back and modify our production code. Now we set this to new date. Simple as that. Save, back in the terminal, all tests are passing. Now here's your next exercise. As part of processing a valid return request, I want you to set the rental fee. So rental fee is basically the number of days the movie has been out times movie.daily rental rate. So write the test first and then write the production code to make the test pass.